Hello, Mavericks. As I cannot stay away from you people for a long time, I'm back with another poem, this time from Standard 10, Dust of Snow by Robert Frost.
Before we get into the poem, I would like my listeners and students to know that there are two meanings of every poem. One is the literal meaning, which is conveyed with the help of the language and words that the poet has used. And the other one is the hidden meaning, which only prevails in the head of the poet. So, to understand that meaning, you need to know the mindset of the poet. You need to know the thinking process that the poet had when he was writing that poem. So we should know about the writer and the poets first before we get into their works. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet who used to employ settings from the rural life of New England in the earlier 20th century. He can write about weather, nature, and still can manage hundreds of metaphors and hundreds of miracles of meanings. His thoughts never needed big words. He used these ideas to examine social and philosophical themes prevailing in New England in the early 20th century. He was one of the most popular and critically acknowledged American poet, as he was honored throughout his lifetime, receiving 4 Pulitzer Prizes for his poetry, and also the admiration of the President John F. Kennedy. He also became the unofficial poet laureate of United States. He was a realistic poet, and he used simplistic language to explain the basic things. As he used to say that poems are better understood when read aloud. And so the language that we find in most of his poems are very easy to understand, and that's why we have a lot of poems by Mr. Frost in our curriculum. Now, let us get into the poem and see what he wants to say with the help of his poem Dust of Snow. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost was originally named as Favor in 1920, renamed as Snow Dust in 1921, and finally it came up with the name Dust of Snow in 1923. And this poem found its place in the new collections of New Hampshire. This poem received a Pulitzer Prize, or we can say he received a Pulitzer Prize for this poem. This poem is one of the shortest poems written by Mr. Frost, consisting of only one line. Surprised? The title refers to the cold winter season, which is very long and hard in the northern countries, and it's often associated with sorrow and gloom.
Before we start with the explanation of the poem, I'd like to read it for you. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of the day I had rued.
Let's first discuss the literal meaning of the poem. And we will also worry about or think about the elements that Mr. Frost has used here: the crow and the hemlock tree. The crow is such an insignificant, unattractive black bird which I have never found in many poems that I have read. Most of the time we find beautiful birds like cuckoos, parrots, doves, pigeons present in the poems because that makes it look attractive. But here Frost has a different mindset. But we'll talk about the mindset in the later part of this video. For now, crow was an insignificant bird, but still the perching of the crow or the taking flight of the crow, or maybe just a simple wing movement of the crow, made that snowflake unsettle from the hemlock tree, which fell on the shoulders of the poet. So that is one element we need to look at because it resembles lots of things we'll discuss. The second one is a hemlock tree, and it is shown to be as a very poisonous coniferous tree. So both the elements used by the poet here are quite insignificant. But it's not what happened and how it happened. What matters is what it led to. And that's what is important. Elements used are symbol of something perceived as dangerous, even if wrongly. However, this element gave the poet a change of heart, a change of thought, and that is important. Because things are to be perceived in the right way, and that will give you the total satisfaction. The way it happens reaches straight to the speaker's thoughts. He was worried. He was paralyzed by his mental thoughts. He was regretting something. But the sudden, fresh, cold touch of the snowflakes on his face, on his cheeks, on his neck and throat, on his palms, gave him the change, awakened him to the present moment, made him look at his beautiful surrounding, the white, serene, snow-covered surrounding. And that was the change that he needed. All he needed was a break from the paralysis of his mental thoughts. And he gets that because of that falling of snowflake on his shoulders. Thanks to this random act of unintended kindness of the crow that saved some part of it, though not all of it. So it's not a life-changing miracle, still a much-needed break that he was quite desperate to get. And he gets it. A much-needed break that he was looking for, that helped him to save some part of the day, though not the entire day. Had it been a lifetime that he might have ruled, he would not have been able to come out of it just because of this small incident. So we need to wake up as soon as we can. And if we are doing something wrong, we need to come back to the track at the right time, and that will make the difference. We'll talk about the hidden meaning, the meaning which is implied through this poem, the thought process of Mr. Frost, which made him write this poem. And that's very interesting. Well, it simply wants us to know that it does not need someone or something beautiful to do something beautiful. It does not need any beautiful intentions or good intentions or helpful intentions to help someone. All the little things around us have their own miracles. It's totally our perception, how we look at it. It's our readiness to accept the present and change accordingly. So it totally depends on our eyes and our thought process on how we take those menial things that we might think would be of no importance. But as I said, they have their own miracles. Like in this poem, the crow shifted, snow fell. That was a common incident. But the falling of the snowflakes made the poet think that whatever he was doing was not right. That insignificant and a very ugly bird, that poisonous tree, made him think the right way, come back to the track, and come out of the mental paralysis that he was in. So we need to look for a good perception. We need to have a a good perception for anything and everything that is around us. Thanks to this random act of unintended kindness of the crow that saved some part of it, though not all of it. So it's not a life changing miracle, still a much needed break that he was quite desperate to get, and he gets it.
The rhyming scheme is ABAB, CD. As we can see in the poem, the word crow rhymes with snow and me with tree. And in the second paragraph, heart rhymes with part and mood with rude. The second rhetorical device is enjambment. It is simply when a sentence continues in many lines of the poem, and we find it all through the poem as this poem consists of a single line. Alliteration has also played its part, as alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds in the beginning of the words. In has given my heart, H is alliterated, and save some part, S is alliterated. In the sentence, of a day I had rude, we find the repetition of these sounds just here and there. That is consonants. Robert Frost has used nature as the major theme. The amazing power of nature to rejuvenate us is beautifully brought forth in this poem. Life itself can often be such a distraction from truly living that we forget to enjoy our limited time in the world. And in the middle of our artificial anxieties and obligations, forces of nature help us to pause and ponder and help us in getting our priorities right. So remember to appreciate the little joys of life. It also advises us not to go by appearances and reputations, as things defy their reputation. Not everything beautiful will be worthy of admiration and appreciation, and not everything unattractive can be worthless. Like in this poem we see, crow and hemlock tree, such insignificant element still do some good to the poet. So we should embrace life as it comes our way. We should not fear and welcome change and keep moving on and on and on. That is the crux of this poem. Thank you very much for your patience. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.